We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego Unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Spoiler alert. Canelo Alvarez did not dare to be great. I will explain my thoughts in this video. You guys gotta subscribe. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Saul Alvarez. Make sure you guys come and subscribe. Now 57-2-2 record. He fought Dmitry Bivol, didn't go his way. Now, I do give Canelo credit. He showed heart. Canelo didn't get knocked out, didn't get knocked down. But to me, this was a bad loss. Now, there's this notion that Canelo Alvarez, payday, you want payday. I know that he did something almost abnormal. He did something where he pushed beyond all boundaries and dared to be great. Right now on the screen, you see Teddy Atlas says, well, they wanted to rob Dmitry Bivol by keeping the fight close, but they couldn't. The fight was not that close. All the clean shots were landed by Bivol. No contest, no question. Hashtag Canelo Bivol. To which I agree 1000%. But Ego Mythbusters is back. There's this notion that Canelo Alvarez dared to be great, and I will dispel those notions in this video. Lega. If you follow me on my Twitter at BOXINGEGO, BOXINGEGO, I posted this. People keep saying that Canelo dared to be great. This whole dare to be great rubbish, trying to sugarcoat the Dmitry Bivol loss, but hyped up Canelo's win over Sergey Kovalev. How did you dare to be great when the same people also said that Canelo was a true and legit champion at 175 by beating Kovalev when he fought him by knockout, and he already had experience there? So what I'm saying is very simple. Am I telling you to not give Canelo credit? Absolutely not. Am I telling you to kick a man while he's down? Absolutely not. Am I telling you not to respect Canelo? Absolutely not. Now that we've laid and established the ground rules, let me keep going. We live in a PC society where people like to sugarcoat. On my channel, that's not what I'm about. It didn't get me this far in the game, so I don't see any reason to fit. The reality of the situation is Canelo was a champion previously. He knocked out somebody who, if you look it up, Sergey Kovalev, a guy whose nickname is the Crusher, he is actually bigger than Dmitry Bivol. I took it a step further and made this graphic for you. As you guys can see, Kovalev now has a record of 34-4-1. He has more fights. He has more knockouts than Dmitry Bivol, who was 20-0. If you look at the height of Kovalev, he's listed at 6 foot even. Bivol is listed at 6 foot even. But I've been around both. From memory, the eye test, I would say Kovalev looked lankier and he looked bigger. They actually have similar builds, to be honest. Bivol's built different, like body type wise, but Kovalev from the eye test looked a bit bigger. But they're listed at the same height, 6 even, 6 flat for both fighters. Kovalev, however, has a 72.5-inch reach, right? And Bivol has a 72-inch reach. So guess what? The longer arm fighter, and from my ego eye test, Kovalev looked bigger. But if you want to go with the BoxRec stats, they're both the same height. I'll take it a step further than that. For those who really know their boxing, you will recall there was a fight card with Sergey the Crusher Kovalev and Dmitry Bivol where they fought on the same card, and they were on stage together. Sullivan Barrera was Bivol's opponent, and you had Kovalev, and he fought Igor Mikhalkin. Boom, you never know. There is a picture. And again, different body types, but you can see from this picture, for all intents and purposes, it appears that Sergey Kovalev is, like I said, the ego eye test, ego mythbusters. He looks to be the bigger fighter. You look at where his shoulders sit, right? And it looks like his shoulders sit higher. I know BoxRec, they got their own measurements or whatever, but his arms look, just from the eye test, look longer. And this is a great way to compare outside of just the BoxRec, is what do you see with your own eyes? Please let me know in the comment section. So this is them at their fight. They fought at Madison Square Garden, and you can look at it and leave a comment and let me know who you think is bigger. Now, some of you are scratching your head like, hey, okay, get to the point. What does that have to do with anything? Well, Canelo, if I'm not mistaken, he fought Sergey Kovalev, who I'm showing you on screen is the bigger of the two. And when Canelo fought Sergey Kovalev, I remember distinctly my choice words and everything. I told you on my channel that I thought the fight was an advanced cherry pick. Kovalev had seen better days. Andre Ward kind of took his soul. Then he lost to leader Alvarez. But it was the Canelo man fans and the Canelo Chupapi Muñeños that said, no, ego, you're hating. Kovalev's perfectly fine. And we know the outcome of that fight. Canelo Alvarez brutally knocked out Sergey Kovalev in the 11th round. Let's put it all together. So if Canelo, as you can see, knocked out Kovalev, punched him through the ropes, let the Canelo fans tell it, Kovalev was not washed. Kovalev was a sensational win that made Canelo Alvarez a 4-division champion. So they said I was lying. So I'll use your logic. That was a great win. I said it was FAF, but we're not here to talk about just what I said. We're talking about the Canelo fans. So let's put it all together. Canelo had experience and he was a champion. Nobody defeated him at light heavyweight. So why are people saying he dared to be great? At the end of the day, styles make fights. Everything I said about Kovalev being a cherry pick, I still believe it to be true. But the Canelo fans, they argued and said that's not the case. Now we're starting to see some truths revealed. Now when it doesn't play out in your favor, you knocked out Kovalev. He was rehydration clauses. He was at a specific point in his career. But the point I'm making is that Canelo man fans said that this was a strong, incredible win that legitimately made Canelo a light heavyweight champion. So now when things do not go your way, how are those same fans saying that he dared to be great? He was a champion there. And funny enough, when it comes to other fighters, oftentimes black fighters, I don't see these same commenters in the comment section giving all these consolation prizes and participation trophy. Case in point, Erickson Lubin. Erickson Lubin fought a guy who is Wilder's height in his division at 154 pounds. I literally do not recall Canelo fans or a lot of old media giving Lubin credit for losing to Fundora being at a major deficit. Now, people have this notion that it's just about making weight, but I'm here to tell you that's cap. Point blank period, we are in an age where a lot of fighters do not fight at their walking around weight. Look how big Sebastian Fundora is. So you have fighters who, they're young, their bodies are pliable, they can make these crazy weights on the day before the fight on the Friday and then rehydrate. So it's really no different than being in different weight classes in certain circumstances. Like Fundora, okay, he made weight. We don't know what he rehydrates to. We don't know Erickson Lubin, but he definitely has the frame to eat some carbs and fill out, as you guys seen from that picture. But what's happening with Canelo is things didn't go his way, so now we're giving participation trophies. The point blank of the matter, which I'm giving it to you raw, is Canelo came up really short versus Bivol. Styles make fights, so you got to just eat the crow. The same people that said Canelo was a legitimate light heavyweight champion, where people like me didn't agree with that. And I told you that. I said the Kovalev fight looked sus. Kovalev was seen better days. It looked FAF, but they argued tooth and nail. Now things don't play out how you want them with Dmitry Bivol, and we're supposed to have this sympathy for because Canelo lost to Bivol. So again, I ask you, how did you dare to be great in a division you had already fought in? You had some experience. You had an 11th round knockout against a guy like Kovalev, who's been in there with some great names like B-Hop and Andre Ward, and you were already a champion, and the Canelo fans said it was a credible win. So the point I'm making is these participation trophies must stop. We need to establish rules, which are the rules for everybody. Just because you're in a different weight class, especially if a person has experience and has been a champion there, you're not really daring to be great. Furthermore, I would raise you by saying this. Canelo is not as small as you think. His walk around weight, etc. And I could save some of that for a future video. But the other issue is Canelo, he's of all boxing, he's the person that's in charge of his career. He can make the decision. He could have fought Errol Spence, Charlo, Benavidez, defended his titles at 168, and he chose this. So why are we giving these participation trophies? They need to be eliminated. They are bad. This is the conundrum. And the Canelo fans do not want to admit what I'm saying is true, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either he legitimately beat Sergey Kovalev and the fight was great and he was a true and a legit champion at 175, which is what the Canelo fans base said, or he's not. You can't now when it doesn't go your way. And the other thing is Canelo was the favorite to beat Bivol. But again, when it doesn't go his way, his fans are coming up, oh, he was vegan. Oh, he was too small. Oh, he dared to be great. Why are we giving people props or as extra props for being in total control of their career and doing what they want to do? I wanted to see Canelo fight at 160, Demetrius Andrade, at 160 against Jamal Charlo. And he had other plans. No one told him to go to light heavyweight. He is in complete control of his career. He got out of the Golden Boy contract. He sued him, and people now want to baby him after he has a win, which you guys said was credible against Kovalev at 175. He could have still fought PBC fighters. They got a deal from Showtime. That's already set in stone. He could have fought smaller guys like Errol moving up. You know, had Charlo move him up, no experience at 168, fought a legit 168, former two-time WBC champion at the division, David Benavidez, and he chose to go a different direction. So what's up with the participation trophy? Because it didn't work. He was the favorite to beat Bivol. Beyond that, how do you get all this extra sympathy? And that I don't like what it stands for, and I know for a fact it's not consistent across boxing. Like I said, Erickson Lubin fought a giant and lost. There was no empathy and extra sympathy. He just went in there, you win some, you lose some type of attitude. But when it's the precious media darling Canelo, he tried his best and, you know, he dared to be great. He already fought someone who was that size, Kovalev, and he knocked him out. So we can't cry over spilled milk when it doesn't work for him. He fought Kovalev, who I showed you in this video is at least equivalent to Dmitry Bivol. But as I always say, styles make fights, and I do believe Kovalev was on the back half, which meant that the Kovalev win was really capped. Furthermore, you have Canelo's current promoter, Eddie Hearn, and himself, they were entertaining this notion, which sounded silly to me, which I also told you, that Canelo could move up and fight at cruiserweight and heavyweight. And I told you, he can only do that if he's going to cherry pick guys like MacBook Air that you've never heard of, some random African dude who is not proven to be the best. But then guys like Alexander Usyk, they started saying that Canelo could beat him. Now Canelo's base want a bunch of empathy because he lost to a bigger guy when they were saying Canelo could move to cruiserweight and or heavyweight to beat Alexander Usyk. It doesn't work like that. We have to keep the same energy. Canelo was the favorite to beat Bivol. He was previously a champion who you guys said, well, he was a credible champion at 175, which I disagreed with. And then when it doesn't work, you just got to take that lump, grow from it, and see what the person does next. Beyond that, in closing, these boxers, respect to them for lacing them up, but you are doing your job. I didn't see, as I said throughout this video, a bunch of fans give Erickson Lubin all this extra credit for fighting a 6'7" Sebastian Fundora. Because when you're a black fighter, primarily, it's just expected, or even Cuban fighters get this a lot too. It's expected that you fight at weight deficits or whatever. And if you come out on the losing side, then you came out on the losing side. Another person, a Cuban fighter, comes to mind, Guillermo El Chacao Rigondao. He fought Lomachenko, a two-time gold medalist, just like he. And the difference being between Canelo Bivol and a situation like Rigondao looks tiny. In fact, he actually moved down in weight after, and he was making like 118. So he physically looks tiny. Canelo is shorter than Bivol, but if you look at his thighs, his neck, his bicep, his shoulders, he looks big. He's just not bigger in terms of stature and height, but that's okay. Mike Tyson wasn't either. Mike Tyson several times over fought guys who were 6'5", 6'6", things. Look at Lennox Lewis, right? And then again, now that it doesn't work and Canelo was doing a job and he came up short, fair play, no big deal. But the fans are making a big deal, saying, oh, he dared to be great. Oh, he went out on and tried da-da-da-da. This is what boxers are supposed to do. This is your job. If you set your trash out on a Thursday and you see the people drive up with the truck and they pick it up, of course, that's what they're getting paid to do, is pick up the trash. That's a garbage man. These are boxers. Why is it all this extra empathy and, craziness and dared to be great? It's because, like I said before, you got old media and they're trying to save face and eat crow. So they have to find a way to try to uplift fighters that they want to uplift. They never do this. They didn't say Andre Ward was daring to be great, fighting Crusher when he was still the Crusher and he had just moved up and he only had 2 tune-up type of fights. They say, oh, Ward, you're a bum. You lost to Sergey Kovalev. He kicked your butt. But then Andre Ward, after being dropped, he didn't go out like Canelo. Andre Ward got up and did better after that. So this was an abysmal showing by Canelo Alvarez because he came out trying to blaze Bivol and punch him full force and walk him down with all power shots. And the worst case scenario for Canelo happened when it didn't go his way. And he couldn't figure out what Bivol was doing and or got tired and Bivol was landing great shots. Canelo really folded and he just kind of reverted to trying to trap him. He got on his bike. It wasn't a good showing from Canelo. Maybe he can do something different in the rematch. If he even takes the rematch, that remains to be seen. But these participation trophies and these falsehoods need to stop in the world of boxing. We're not going to buy it. You sold the package and we read the small print. This is buyer beware. You sold Canelo as a true light heavyweight. He had many options, so we can't cry over spilled milk when he himself, out of all the people in boxing, he literally could fight who he wanted. There was several guys that wanted to fight him, even in lighter divisions. So to me, that's not daring to be great. I get up sometimes at 4 a.m. and put out videos. I did the Canelo watch party versus Bivol, right? The stream is 4 hours. Is that me daring to be great? Where's my daring to be great? I was tired. I had put out content all day for the past week. One person. Am I daring to be great because I'm a YouTuber and a content creator and my job is to create content for the masses in boxing? And I got up at 4 a.m. and I did a 4+ hour stream for Canelo versus Bivol, despite being deliriously tired. I was hungry. I hadn't ate. Am I daring to be great? I don't see a bunch of people having mercy and feeling all this empathy for me. They just like, hey, good video, bad video. I like your channel, hate your channel. You know what I mean? And there's several people that get up every day. They got to warm their car up and they go to their job. whatever that may be. It's like, we got to stop this. And I know we live in a soft PC society where people, me saying it like I'm saying it, blunt, brash, cutthroat, they're not going to understand it. Some people, they're like, oh, you're being harsh. I haven't said anything that I disagree with, right? I'll never take this video down because I haven't said anything. Canelo, he's a great fighter. He came up short. It wasn't a good showing. I believe everything that I'm telling you in this video. Stop with the participation trophies and these alternate Marvel universe, multiverse angles about why he lost. He lost because he wasn't good enough on the given night to beat Dmitry Bivol, because he lost because he thought he could just do what he wanted. And instead of making the events that people truly wanted to see, which might have spared him. Who knows if Charlo or Errol or Benavidez can beat him, because those guys didn't beat him because they didn't get selected, right? So they had to fight other people. And that was Canelo's choice. Once again, this all comes back to Canelo. So I don't have the same remorse or mercy. Yeah, rest up, get well. I'm glad he's in full health. I seen he did a video and he's singing, but I don't have this, oh, he dared to be great attitude, because this is what fighters do. You had Ugas, who said he wanted to keep fighting Errol Spence, a brute force guy who had a hell of a camp apparently and threw a million punches, and Ugas looked like a cyclops. So everybody who fights is truthfully daring to be great. Am I wrong? Ugas is risking being blind to go out on his shield. Deontay Wilder gave the Tyson Fury trilogy everything that he could, and he was ultimately knocked out. That's daring to be great as well, right? But we don't usually see this. And funny enough, a lot of the examples that I've given, you see Canelo man fans, they don't say Wilder was daring to be great. They say, aha, black tears, Wilder lost, Wilder got his butt kicked, you know, Lubin, he got destroyed, Fondura whooped him, and it's more of a ha-ha moment. We'll see how the Charlo versus Castano fight plays out, and you know who wins that particular fight, right? So again, by nature of boxing, everybody's daring to be great. Everybody's trying to something to prove. You know, you got Roberto Duran or Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson 2 weeks after his mom died. Boxing, that's what boxing is daring to be great. So I'm not giving Canelo, an A-side who was the favorite, all this other worldly credit like he did something that every other boxer is not doing. There's many guys who lose in boxing. There's guys who win in boxing. You sold the package. You said he's a 4-division champion. He is the A-side over everybody outside of, let's say, Floyd Mayweather. Anyone else? So he had the pick of the litter. Canelo Alvarez truly, really and truly could have fought anyone he wanted. Smaller guys who are a little bit bigger, but at 168, like Benavidez. He could have fought David Morrell, anybody. He chose his fate. He did what he signed up for. It didn't work his way. So as a result, you know, respect to him for lacing him up. But at the end of the day, we can't play all these games and say he did something that every other. Ugas is risking his life. He's daring to be great, you know? What are we talking about? It's really like Mikey Garcia when he was incessantly calling out Errol Spence. Nobody was telling Mikey Garcia, hey, move from 135, move from 140, and call out this welterweight in Errol Spence Jr. But Mikey Garcia, being an independent thinker, he says, you know who I want to fight on a radio show? I want to fight Errol Spence. And Errol Spence, not being afraid of anything, he obliged him. And then after, same thing like with this Canelo Bivol, after he made the choice, he said, I see something. I see it, right? And when he made the choice, and then Errol Spence gave him what he was looking for, and it says, okay, you said you see something, and beat him at his own game by boxing him brilliantly, jab all night, and Mikey took his first professional loss. You've seen the same thing. You've seen a lot of people come out and say, oh, he tried his best, and you know, he thought he saw something, and I thought I saw a putty cat, and he dared to be great. It's like, this is everyday boxing stuff. Like, my thing is this. I don't really think Canelo deserves any more credit than anything else, because Canelo is one of the rare people in boxing, one of the very few that can really manifest destiny without and avoid all politics. He said he wanted to work with everybody in boxing. He freed himself from his contract with Golden Boy. He had one fight with PBC. He worked with DAZN, right? He worked with Golden Boy previously. Not everyone has that luxury. People want to compare everybody, but everyone's situation is not that of Canelo. Canelo literally got offers. There was a bidding war. There's no bidding war at the moment for Demetrius Andrade or, the next guy. But there was a Showtime DAZN bidding war. He chose his fate. So I respect it. You chose Dmitry Bivol. And for clarification's sake, the reason people are saying that was a cherry pick is because there were bigger fights, and this was more of a style that people believed Canelo was accustomed to. It just so happened on given night, Dmitry Bivol, he put together his best performance. To be honest, if you look at his last two fights, he didn't look sensational like that, but he really got up for this fight and he all put it together. And my thing is this, I picked Canelo by decision, but if you listen to everything I said regarding it, I said, don't be surprised if there's controversy or basically bad scoring. And there was that. So the judges did get it right. And I was wrong for that by picking Canelo because, I'm just used to the okie doke when it comes to Canelo and bad scoring. It just seems to go together like ham and burger, peanut butter and jelly. Right. But I'm glad the judges got the right victor. Dmitry Bivol fought his ass off and, it was a brilliant performance. But I just see so many people with this despair and, this, Canelo, he dared to be great. He dared to lace him up. I give him credit for that. That's what every fighter does. And the thing that makes it even more insufferable is the world of boxing is not consistent. Like I said throughout this video, when Sebastian Fundora is 6'7" and Erickson Lubin's fighting this guy who's taller than Bivol at 154, right? And he loses, people just say, oh, you lost. You got your butt kicked. Deontay Wilder, when Tyson Fury's glove looked crazy, beyond that, Tyson Fury's 6'9" and packed on a bunch of extra weight and was leaning on Wilder and, nearly weighing 300 pounds. And Wilder, fought him undersized compared to what Fury's size is 3 times. And Wilder was always an undersized person. And when he lost the second 2 fights by knockout. People just say, oh, you got your butt kicked, Fury hand. But then when it comes to Canelo, people aren't even consistent with that same energy. They're saying, oh, he dared to be great. I've stated this. How did he dare to be great when he was a champion in the division and you guys told me it was a credible win? I was telling you that Kovalev fight looked fishy. It looked FAF to me. But using your logic, you said it was a credible win that established Canelo as a legitimate champion. Furthermore, Canelo's own team said Sergey Kovalev is the best at 175 pounds. That's why I'm fighting him. So you guys got to keep in mind, I'm the best in boxing history. Canelo's team and Canelo said that Kovalev was the true, champion and he was the best. Dmitry Bivol was out at that time. And you guys played the game and you guys played along with everything that Canelo Alvarez was saying. And you said, yeah, he's right. Sergey Kovalev is the best. And I said at that given point, Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol are better. And I'll tell you this. When I said that, Canelo fans said, oh, Ego, you're hating. Kovalev's a great, dangerous fight and all this stuff. And Bivol, who's he fought and who's he beat. Years later, he cherry picks and he thinks Bivol is a cherry pick, and it just so happened that it didn't work out. And that's what happens. Sometimes you can get crossed up and mixed up. Like you think you're going to get away with something and you don't. And that's what it is. I truly believe that Canelo Alvarez, he played the game as long as he could and it didn't work out. That's how boxing works. You make one wrong decision, one error, a lapse in judgment, then you could take a L. And that's just what was in the cards. Bivol fought an amazing fight. Take nothing away from him. But I truly think the threats and the fights that people, and there's no guarantee that these guys would have beat him. But I will say this, Canelo and his team in his mind, they wanted to steer away from more of an American style. Bigger guys like Jermell Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, one's a southpaw. Charlo got a crazy jab and he's aggressive with power. You can't really get tired with the guy like that, right? David Benavidez, you can't get tired with these guys. Beterbiev, same thing. So Canelo, he tried to rob the bank, and he thought Bivol, he's probably looking at the, you know, the fights on the table and what's being offered and who he could fight. He could have got with Bob Arum and Top Rank and fought Beterbiev, but he thought Bivol was the sweetest of all of them, and that's who he chose. So when people are saying Bivol was a cherry pick, I think people are ultimately saying and suggesting that because if you have 5 names, David Morrell, Demetrius Andrade, Jermall Charlo, Benavidez, etc., Errol Spence, all these different fights that are bigger fights and super dangerous, proven dangerous styles for you, and then you go fight another Russian fighter, another Eastern European, which you've had an immense success with, then that's why people were saying it. You know, at the end of the day, credit to Bivol. Bivol had other plans. He could take a punch. He mixed it up with Canelo, and he played spoiler. But all this, Canelo tried his best, and it was because he went vegan, and Canelo, he got it out the mud, and we should all bow down because he did it. Canelo has the ability to pick anyone he wants. Most fighters don't have that. Most fighters, like Errol Spence, he hasn't been able to just pick anybody he wants throughout boxing, right? Terrence Crawford, he hasn't been able to just pick. Imagine if guys like Jaron Ennis and Terrence Crawford and Benavidez and, you know, Gervonta or whatever had the power that Canelo has, and they could literally just point and work with any promoter, and they were the A side and all this stuff in every equation and get the fights done. So as far as Canelo daring to be great, I don't see him doing really anything different than anybody else. There's everyone who's fighting bigger opponents is daring to be great. Rigondeaux fighting Lomachenko is daring to be great. And when he loses, I don't see the same energy, you know, that people are trying to. So to me, I think it's a consolation. It's a participation trophy. And Canelo fans, the man fans, talk so much that in the end, when it didn't play out, this is what they're reduced to. They're reduced to rubble, and now saying, oh, he dared to be great and, you know, leave him alone. We got to respect it. But Canelo was on his high horse saying stuff like nobody in boxing's doing what I'm doing. And he was golfing and things like that. So I'll break this down in other future videos, but I think Canelo got a little bit too big for his britches, and it was a bridge too far. He thought he could walk all over Dmitry Bivol, thought it would be similar to the Kovalev fight. A lot of fans thought it would be similar to the Kovalev fight and the Caleb Smith fights. But Bivol, he had a style that was all wrong for Canelo, and he was able to put it together to the point where the judges who tried still couldn't save him. And that's why Canelo, this whole daring to be great, is now debunked. We Unpack coming to you live. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.